At a time when the pharmaceutical industry around the world is at its peak in combating the most dangerous and deadly diseases and epidemics, Dr. Isabel Broban, a talented and ambitious scientist, emerges, leading a team of experts and doctors in their special project aimed at finding a treatment to slow down aging. She and her team succeed in attracting a large number of the world's wealthiest people who, of course, dream of returning to their youth as they once were. One night, Mia, the wife of Thomas, the owner of the company and medical institution, decided to surprise him and spend a nice, pleasant evening together. However, he was extremely exhausted and fast asleep, as we can see. Mia becomes upset, argues with him, puts on her clothes, and leaves the bed. As she gets ready to leave, she notices a message on Thomas's computer from Dr. Isabel. When she opens it, she finds a picture of a burned girl's arm, with a tattoo on it marked with the number 14,000. The next day, Thomas watches an interview with Dr. Isabel, where she discusses their project and the treatment they are currently working on, which will allow them to restore the elderly to their youth once again. Despite the host asking her very tough questions, Isabel remains completely calm, confidently answering everything. She explains that aging is a disease like any other that humanity suffers from, and it deserves to be treated. She expresses her confidence that they will be able to completely eliminate aging. After watching the entire interview, Thomas immediately calls Isabel and speaks with her. Meanwhile, Mia, Thomas's wife, is out for her daily run when she accidentally bumps into a woman named Nicole. We learn that Nicole works as a nanny for a young child who is the son of Mia and Thomas's neighbor. Mia apologizes to her, and Nicole reassures her that everything is fine. After some light conversation, Isabel arrives and thanks Nicole, admiring the child's hair and beauty. She also compliments Nicole's hair, subtly touches a strand, and in a sneaky manner, manages to pull out a few strands. Later, Mia takes Isabel home, and Thomas meets with Isabel, telling her that the project they're currently working on must remain secret and not be discussed in the media until they have the necessary funds and full project costs. Isabel agrees but insists that they need to lead and be at the forefront of this project. Thomas explains that the first phase of their project hasn't been completed yet, and progress is very slow. At this point, Isabel shows him a picture of a client named Peter, and it's clear from the picture that he looks much younger than he did before trying the treatment. Thomas is astonished, and Isabel tells him that the wealthy don't care about policies or laws as long as they achieve their goal. Thomas responds, "The important thing is, don't do anything without consulting me." She reassures him, "Of course I'll do that." Isabel goes to Mia and says, "You're really beautiful." Mia replies, "You should say that to Thomas because he doesn't notice me at all." Isabel gives her some tips to make herself look even more attractive to him and get his attention. That night, Mia changes her clothes and hairstyle a bit, just like Isabel suggested. We see that Thomas is indeed impressed by her, but he still keeps his distance. Mia is shocked and doesn't understand why he's pulling away, so she gets angry and storms out. At that moment, Nicole is walking back home when a man bumps into her, but she keeps walking. After a few steps, she suddenly collapses and loses consciousness. We see a car pull up next to her, and two men get out, pick her up, and put her in the car. While driving, they heat up a metal rod with fire. After a while, the two men get out of the car when they encounter a roadblock. During that time, Nicole regains consciousness, opens the car door, and sneaks out, using her smarts to escape. The two men don't notice her and get back into the car, driving away. The next morning, Isabel meets a new client named John, who wants to look younger. Isabel asks him to sign an agreement, stating that he won't talk about their project to anyone. Despite his initial hesitation, John signs the document. Then, Isabel shows him photos and files of previous clients they've worked with, and the incredible results they've achieved, reassuring him about the treatment's effectiveness. She then tells him the total cost, which he must pay in cryptocurrency. Afterward, she starts running medical tests on him. Meanwhile, Thomas and Mia are at home when suddenly, Nicole knocks on the door, covered in blood and terrified. They open the door and let her in. Thomas notices a burn mark on Nicole's arm with the number 17. Mia tells him to quickly grab a towel. Thomas goes upstairs to get the towel and calls someone on the phone. While Mia takes care of Nicole, Thomas comes back with the towel and tells them, "I'm taking Nicole to the nearest hospital to make sure she's okay." He takes her and drives off. As time passes and night falls, Thomas still hasn't returned home, nor has he answered any of Mia's calls. Worried about him, Mia starts calling nearby hospitals, only to find out that Nicole hasn't been admitted to any of them. At the same time, we see Thomas in his car with Nicole. One of the men who kidnapped Nicole the previous night appears, opens the car door, and drags Nicole out. Thomas watches as it happens but does nothing to stop or prevent it. Mia grows increasingly anxious about Thomas, and has no idea where he took Nicole or where they've disappeared to. She opens his computer to track his phone's location. Suddenly, she gets a message from Thomas, reassuring her that Nicole is in the hospital. When Mia checks his current location through his phone, she realizes that something is wrong and that Thomas is lying to her. She immediately grabs her car keys and decides to go to his location. At this moment, Thomas enters a building and meets Isabel. He asks her about the person who dragged Nicole out of his car. Isabel tells him that they work for her, and we learn that one is named Caldwell and the other Jack. Thomas says, "I thought the women you were testing our treatment on volunteered themselves, not that you were kidnapping them." Isabel responds, "Of course, no woman would agree to volunteer for a new experimental treatment." But she reassures him, saying, "Don't worry, it'll all be over soon, and we'll achieve what we're aiming for." Thomas shows a picture of a girl named Ellie, and he's feeling extremely scared and anxious. He starts to get up to leave. At the same time, his wife, Mia, arrives cautiously at the place. She enters inside and begins walking around until the wooden floor beneath her breaks, and she falls down. Fortunately, she doesn't get hurt. She stands up and continues exploring the place until she finds the dietary supplements produced and sold by her husband Thomas's company. Suddenly, she hears a woman crying and screaming. She follows the sound and finds a woman tied to a table, being electrocuted without any mercy. Jack appears from behind Mia, but she manages to resist him and escape. She runs as fast as she can, but unfortunately, she twists her ankle and falls hard to the ground. Quickly, she stands up again, but Jack strikes her once more, causing her to fall and lose consciousness completely. Meanwhile, Thomas returns home and finds his computer open, realizing that Mia had tracked his location through his phone. Someone informs him that Mia is indeed at the place, and he rushes back. At the same time, Mia is forced to take off her clothes. She's tied up with duct tape, and a hot metal rod is used to brand the number A34 on her arm. When Thomas finally arrives at the place, he's confronted by a guard who refuses to let him in. Jack calls the guard, giving him permission to let Thomas in to see Mia for 5 minutes. When Thomas and Mia meet, she refuses to look at him after discovering the truth about his work. Thomas warns her not to try escaping, as it could get them both killed. Isabel meets Thomas and warns him not to interfere with her work or attempt to rescue Mia. She also takes his phone and tells him he is strictly forbidden from leaving. Suddenly, the alarm goes off, and we see Nicole running, trying to escape from this cursed place. She reaches the room where Mia is being held and screams for help. Jack appears behind her, hitting her hard on the head with a metal object, killing her instantly. Mia watches in absolute terror. Later, the old man, John, arrives eager to start his treatment that same day. Isabel agrees to start, and raises the price by 50%, and John accepts without hesitation. In the next scene, we see Isabel continuing her work on one of the women, with Jack assisting her. She warns Jack not to harass any of the women, especially Mia. Thomas sneaks into the room where Mia is being held and manages to open the door. He hugs her tightly. Mia remembers the photo she saw on Thomas's computer of the girl's arm branded with the number 14,000. She immediately asks Thomas about it. He admits that the girl's name is Ellie and that he met her 6 months ago at a party he and Isabel were invited to. We learn that Ellie is the same girl who was tied to the bed and electrocuted. Thomas tells Mia that it's the first time he's seen her here since meeting her at the party, and that he had no idea what Isabel was doing. Afterward, Thomas returns to his room, weighed down by all his worries, unsure of what to do or how to act. During this time, Isabel calls Thomas and shows him all the new devices they've added to their facility, including one that allows them to freeze embryos when they purchase eggs from outside. She mentions that they can use any client's DNA and asks if he thinks they can live up to 180 years. He contemplates her success but expresses doubt. Finally, Thomas decides to go back and save Mia. He enters her room, cuts the rope she's tied with, and tells her to run as fast as she can. As she tries to escape, the others notice that Thomas is helping her, and they attempt to stop her. Thomas fights back bravely, but in the end, Jack strikes him hard, causing him to lose consciousness and collapse on the ground. Caldo goes off to chase Maya and capture her again to bring her back. Maya finds a car, jumps in quickly, but she doesn't know how to start it without the keys. Her bad luck catches up with her when Caldo arrives and captures her once again. Meanwhile, Jack goes to Isabel and tells her, "I've finally found the matching DNA." In the next scene, Maya is unconscious, and when she wakes up, she finds herself tied to an operating table. Isabel is examining her ovaries, searching for any healthy eggs. She finds the one she needs and injects the DNA into it for fertilization. After that, they take Maya to her new cell, where she sees other women imprisoned there, some of them pregnant, including Ellie, who is still alive and visibly pregnant. Maya befriends a woman named Julia, who is also pregnant, and another woman named Helena, who is screaming in pain. Caldo arrives and asks her why she's screaming. She tells him her tooth is hurting, so he grabs pliers and forcefully pulls out her tooth, leaving her crying and screaming. He doesn't stop there. He gets a stapler and staples her mouth shut. Then he turns to Ellie and starts beating her, but suddenly, she goes into labor. After a while, she gives birth to the baby, and Isabel takes the baby immediately and walks away with him. Later, Maya attacks Caldo, knocking him to the ground, and grabs a knife from his pocket, stabbing him forcefully. At the same time, Julia grabs the knife from Maya and stabs Caldo in the back, causing him to collapse. Maya then takes the keys to the cages from his pocket, opens them, and frees the other women. They escape and decide they need to find the baby before they get out of there. Helena hugs Caldo and tells him he's brave and a hero, and that he must finish what he started. Meanwhile, Thomas is searching for Maya and, by chance, finds the other two women. He burns the keys he has and tells them, "Open all the cells and free the women immediately." At this moment, Maya and the other women storm in on Isabel and Jack, but Isabel threatens to kill the baby. She wastes no time, kills him, and quickly escapes. Jack tries to stop them from chasing her, but they gang up on him, beating him and breaking him until he passes out. Ellie makes a run for it while Maya remains determined to chase Isabel. Caldo and Thomas catch up, but Maya shocks Caldo with electricity, saving Thomas at the last moment. Isabel is still on the run, trying to grab the DNA sample, but the women catch her and beat her. They also capture Caldo, torturing him. Helena quietly and stealthily unties Isabel and asks her to save Caldo quickly, but Isabel knows she can't defeat all the women, so she stabs herself with the screwdriver, ending her life. Police and medics arrive at the scene, and Maya tells us that neither the police nor the investigation teams could find any evidence. This is because there were no records or documents of any other individuals involved with Isabel. None of the women gave the police any useful information either, as a gesture of gratitude toward Maya for what she did for them. After some time, we see Thomas and Maya together in their home, and we learn that their relationship has improved a lot. They've even been blessed with a beautiful baby girl named Nicole. And with that, the events of our movie today come to an end. We hope you enjoyed it with us, and don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe.